Hi guys, so today I'm going to be showing you how I painted this hummingbird. So I found this amazing artist on Instagram and she did this hummingbird painting and it was so beautiful I figured I had to try it. So there was a couple of differences. I couldn't figure out how to paint her flowers and she didn't have a tutorial on it. So I kind of had to improvise in a lot of areas, but I still loved how it turns out. So the first thing I did was I painted my canvas a turquoise blue, and how I did that was I took Craft Smart turquoise and I mixed that with Deco Art Bahama blue, and I just kind of mixed like a 1-to-1 ratio of that, and I just spread that all along my canvas. Once your canvas is completely dry, then I just printed out my image, added some pastels to the back of it. If you've been here a while, you know how I do my tracing. And then I taped that down to my canvas and I just traced the outline of the stargazer and the hummingbird. I didn't really trace much of the detail and I didn't trace any of the flowers. Once you're done tracing, remove your piece of paper and take some white paint and fill in your stargazer. Now I'm taking that white paint and putting it on the chest of the hummingbird, and I'm also mixing a light pink and filling in the head. This is just making a template for where the colors are going to go. That way it's a little easier on me. And now we're going to start to paint the flowers. So I took this deep purplish blue and I'm just going to start off by painting some circles. This will be the general shape of your flower or where it's going to go. I'm kind of putting the flowers wherever I feel like they should go. I'm also putting some of them together, some of them farther apart. Just do whatever you feel like would look good. And I'm also using different colors. So the ones in the middle are more of a light blue to kind of dusty gray. And then the ones on the corner are going to be pink. So now I'm going to dip my brush in white and I'm going to dip the other end in the dark blue color and start to paint my petals. I actually really like trying to do this method on a paper plate because it actually makes the blend a little better. So even though I do have like a glass palette, I was constantly going back to a paper plate because it was a little easier. And it's very important when you're doing the petals that you don't try to do a bunch of petals at once. After 1 or 2 petals, just keep dipping back in that paint, and it's also going to make sure it looks more consistent with the pigment than it just halfway running out. And then once you're done doing the first layer, wait for it to fully dry and then do a second layer on top of that. That way your flowers are very opaque and you can tell that the petals are there and they're not blending into the background. Now, I'm sorry if you can't really see much of what I'm doing. I'm going to try to make a different video where I show you more in detail how I paint the flowers, because to be quite honest, this was my first time painting flowers. I don't really paint flowers in my usual art style, and this was very new for me, so I'll just try to do more in-depth videos, and you can refer back to that one if you want to paint this. I also wanted to tell you, when I'm painting the petals, as I get closer towards the center, I am shrinking the size of my brush. That way, as it gets closer to the center, the petals are going to be smaller. This is going to make, I think it makes it look a little better, but you can do whatever you want, of course. It is your painting, so you can make as many changes as you want. So I'm just going back in with my paper plate, and I'm also diluting my paint to make it a little more easier to spread. If your paint's like really thick, or let's say you have heavy body paint or something, then it's going to be harder for you to spread that across the canvas. So for me, to make it flow a little better and make it a little easier on myself, I add some water to get the consistency. Some really good art advice I've heard is, when you are painting animals or birds, make sure your brush strokes go with the grain of the bird's hair, the dog's hair, or the bird's feathers. And it seems really self-explanatory right now, but I promise if you implement it, it helps a lot. I thought it was pretty obvious, but once I started doing it, I noticed a really big increase in how realistic my art looked, and also it just made everything a lot easier and it looked better. So I just wanted to tell you guys that tip just in case it helps anyone, because that's what helped me. And now I'm just going to go in with some green paint, and I'm just painting the body of the paint of the hummingbird green, just getting the bulk. I'm not getting too much into the details. I just want to know where I'm going to place my colors. And I'm taking a black Posca pen, painting the center of the eye and the bottom half of the beak, or whatever it's called. And this is where the hack I told you in the beginning helps. So I'm taking a brush and I'm going in between a very skinny and long brush to where I have less control, and that in like an angled brush. And I'm flaking it up near the tail, going in between dark green and light green while it's still wet to get kind of that feather texture. And it actually started to look really realistic really fast. And I'm using the same method on the wings. I'm going in between light green, dark green, and I am adding some pink in the wings. That way it ties in more with the face, because the face is pink. So I'm just, also make sure when you're doing this and you're like striping, go fast, don't go slow. Slow is just going to make it harder for you, and it's not going to look as natural. So I'm flicking, and I'm also adding some water to my paint to make it flow easier. And now just take a palette knife, and I'm dipping it into some white paint, and I'm dabbing it onto the white part of the chest to get some texture. If you have modeling paste, this would help you a lot, but I don't, so I'm having to work in layers. This part didn't get on camera, but I'll just tell you guys what I did real quick. As for the flower, the stargazer, I just did the striping thing, and I blended it a little bit until I liked the stargazer. And then I took my brush, one end's light green, one end's dark green, and I'm blending it, and then I'm using that to paint the leaves. I'll make a separate video on how I did the leaves. They're pretty easy, but I couldn't fit it into this video. It's moving really fast paced, and it's hard for me to keep up. So once I am done painting the leaves, I do want to tell you guys real quick how I painted the face. So I put one side light pink, one side dark pink, kind of magenta on my brush, kind of an angled brush, and I'm going in and I'm blending and making that transition more seamless, and I just did a nice gradient for the face. And I added this, but this is the paint I use, and it's like a very light pink glitter, and I just added that on some of the pink flowers. You don't have to do that, but I really do like glitter. And I resined mine, and this is my all-time favorite resin. You can also get it at Dollar Tree if you want a smaller amount to try it out, but this is what it looks like resined. I think it came out absolutely beautiful. I hope this was a good enough video. I'll make a couple separate ones showing you how I did certain items like the leaves or the flowers, but I hope this was good enough. Real quick, I did add that pink glitter on the sides of the canvas to make it sparkle. You don't have to add glitter if you don't want to, but this is just what I did. And now your hummingbird painting is done. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe for more videos like this, and until next time, bye!